The hints are being dropped. Are we going to see Kam Kinchens make his return to the field against Georgia Tech?
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. We made it. I'm Alex Donno, your host, University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, and contributor to allhurricanes.com. And thank you so much to the everydayers for sticking with us. Even during the bye week, we've had plenty of stuff to talk about this week. You can get Locked On Canes free on YouTube and free wherever you get your podcasts. And let's bring on an absolute show favorite. We call him our boy Blue. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Larry Blustein, South Florida High School Sports and AM 560 WQAM. Blue, happy Friday. How are you, sir?
Great. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having us on. Certainly busy time of year, recruiting-wise, college football time, and the high school football season has just flown by again. 6 weeks into it already, and, it's every year you wait 8 months for a quick 4 months.
Yeah, that's right. That's so true. I feel the same way about college football season as well. And we are going to talk about high school prospect and a JUCO prospect a little bit later on with Blue. But I want to start with the man who wears the number 5 for your Miami Hurricanes, Kam Kinchens. And it's a great day to talk about Kam because today is his birthday. Happy freaking birthday, Kam Kinchens.
Yeah.
Now, the clues, Blue, are being dropped left and right that he could be ready to make his return to the field for the Georgia Tech game. They're using Kam in all the promotional materials for those Miami Knights uniforms. They're finally going to bust out the black and neon green alternate unis against Georgia Tech on October 7th. We got Kam Kinchens in all the photos. Meanwhile, there have been talk. Now, the media don't currently have access to practice during the season, but there have been some leaked photographs that look like Kam has been back in practice recently wearing the red non-contact jersey, which, you would expect coming off of that collision that he took against Texas A&M. But it sounds as though Kinchens is going to be ready to make that return October 7th for Miami's debut in conference play. So I ask you this, Larry Blustein. Just how much of a difference does Miami's All-American safety make when he's on the field?
Well, that's obviously a question that could be answered in the fact that he's a leader. And when he's out there with his leadership, with the things that he's accomplished, he leads by example. He's a vocal guy, so he kind of hits you at both sides. And kids respect him. And for what he's been able to do during a tough time last year in a 5-7 season, he was one of the best in the country. So it shows you that he knows how to overcome adversity and rise above all that. And, when he got hurt in that game, how much of the outpouring from his teammates and, prayers and, hey, we need him back because he's a guy that, kind of leads the way for us. So, yeah, it's huge. It's huge to have him back. Big to have him, and the great thing about him, even then while he was kind of recovering a little bit, he showed up to every practice. He showed up everywhere. And, you can't talk too much about that as far as what he means to the team, and the kids respect him. And certainly getting him back, in time to ease him back as the ACC schedule begins is important.
Yeah, and so far, Kam, he's played in just 2 games, guys. Remember, he got hurt right at the end of the Texas A&M game. He's got 10 tackles and an interception already this year. And you also remember, Blue, I think it's nice to have Kam potentially back for Georgia Tech because the last time Mr. Kinchens faced Georgia Tech, he had not 1, not 2, but 3 interceptions in that game. So I'm sure the Yellow Jackets would prefer he maybe takes it easy for an extra week.
Yeah, well, not only that, is that obviously that Georgia Tech game last year was huge in a number of ways. Ja'Cory Brown had a tremendous game, and and it does kick off what's going to be just a crazy road over the next 5-6 weeks. Miami's had the tune-ups, obviously, against Miami of Ohio and Bethune-Cookman, and that really big game against A&M. So, it's having all these guys back in time for a game like Georgia Tech is huge, and especially guys who played in that game last year in Atlanta.
Right. So let me ask you, Blue, because you're old school like me. I don't really care what, the uniform color combinations are. I don't get but a lot of people care and they get really, really excited. Do you have a thought? And I'll put them on the screen in a second so the people watching on YouTube can see them. Do you have any opinion on these Miami Knights uniforms that the Canes are going to be wearing on October 7th against Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I mean, the kids love that stuff, and you could thank Phil Knight in Oregon for all this craziness, because they're the ones that actually had the 3 and 4 and 5 sets of uniforms when other schools only had 2, and they got innovative with their colors. And I think it's great. I really do. I think that the kids love it. The fans love it. And it's something of an added, bonus to what they bring to the table. I think it's refreshing. I like it. I really do. I like it. I'm, as you said, I'm old school. I remember when the Hurricanes wore those drab white uniforms with the gold piping and the green numbers and the,
oh wow,
and the white and the gold helmets. So I relish that. And then they went to those white helmets with the Hurricane flags on the side. And so I welcome this. I welcome, because, it's 2023 and that's what it's all about. And you look at a lot of these schools around the country, and things that don't affect some people actually really ring a bell to others. And, we all talked about how, when Miami was in the height of their success and USC was in the height of their success, they had 2 of the worst weight rooms in the country.
That's right.
And, so to me, some things excite people in other ways. And now you have spacious weight rooms and beautiful facilities. And, and I think having a uniform change is always good. It rallies the kids, and you could always too trace back. I remember back in the 80s when Notre Dame played USC, Notre Dame came out in their green jerseys for the first time, and it pumped up the kids, pumped up the crowd. So there's an effect.
We're joined here by Larry Blustein, our boy Blue, 560 WQAM and the 6 Ring Cane Show. I'd love to hear from Larry, because Larry is always very honest with his preseason expectations. If Miami has exceeded those so far, biggest strengths thus far, and any weaknesses Blue would like to see us work on during this bye week. And also, we've got to talk about a couple of prospects that Miami is in the mix for. Sione Laulea, top JUCO cornerback, who's going to be deciding in a little over a week between Miami, USC, and Oregon. And we have to talk about Ny Carr, former Georgia commit, 4-star wide receiver who decommitted from Georgia over the weekend. Miami may have emerged as the favorite. We will get Blue's take. As we like to say, we are only getting started on this episode of Locked On Canes. Guys, you have to be checking out Nutrafol. I love this product. Did you know that 80% of men will experience hair thinning in their lifetime? It's normal, but that doesn't have to be your fate. You can get ahead of thinning with Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement, clinically shown to improve your hair growth, visible thickness, and visible scalp coverage. Go to Nutrafol.com/men to take their hair health wellness quiz. Identify causes of your thinning hair, and Nutrafol is going to give you a personalized plan for better hair health through whole body wellness. Take the first step to visibly thicker, healthier hair. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men and enter promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, and enter promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today. Hey, guys, for your second listen on this Friday, You know what day it is, man? College football kickoff live day, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We are live on this and every Locked On College YouTube channel talking about the big games, the big storylines, the Heisman race, which coaches are on the hot seat, all of that good stuff. I'm part of that panel every week with Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12 and Kenton Gibbs from Locked On ACC, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. today and every Friday right here on every Locked On College YouTube channel, including Locked On Canes. And here on Locked On Canes, we're joined by Larry Blustein. So, Blue, I remember when we talked preseason, you were looking at, somewhere in like the 7-5 to 8-4 range. So far, Miami has taken care of their business, including an upset win over Texas A&M, who, despite the fact they lost Connor Wigman for the year, they look pretty good, and they just beat up on Auburn last week. So that's looking like a quality win for Miami. Has this team so far exceeded your expectations, and who and what have been some of the big standouts for you?
Yeah, I think it has. I mean, because we really didn't know what to expect because of the fact that the dramatic changeover in the roster. As I say with the guys on our show on Monday evening, I'm on a sliding scale, so I'm gonna take it one game at a time and see which direction I'm in. But I thought they'd be 3-1 here. I thought they'd lose to A&M. I mean, obviously A&M, came in, and as you alluded to, I mean, they did a pretty good job against a very much improved and good Auburn team. So, I think that obviously there's growing pains. There's a chemistry deal that you got to get. And I always tell people you could bring in 1,000 different players who are 4 and 5 stars and studs, but there's a chemistry thing. Most of those kids come in with the attitude is it's about me. And you've got to develop that team concept, and I think they're doing it slowly but surely. There's a lot of guys on there that were stars at other levels, but I think that what you've seen is there's a lot of humility on the team. There's a lot of humble players, who, as you say, have starred in the past somewhere else, but now have to be part of a team unit. And I think as they win like they have, I think these kids buy in a lot more because they see the results. What they have to work on, consistency at all phases of the game. And as you mentioned, you can have in games against North Carolina or Clemson or Louisville or any of those other games where you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, you've got to, no one's going to play mistake-free football. Even the best teams have penalties, and it's all about overcoming. And I think that the thing is, you look at the receiver position and it's come, kind of full circle because you have so many different weapons and guys who are making catches and not dropping as many balls this year. The offensive line, which is probably the most improved part of the team from last year, where you were looking at guys last year that really shouldn't have been starting at a Power 5 level, that they had no choice. But this year, with the addition of Cohen and Lee and players like that, and then they could afford to bring in the Mawagoas and not count on them solely like they've had to do with a lot of kids in the past. Running game is potentially as good as you're going to get, and in all phases. They have breakaway guys. They have tackle people. Obviously, quarterback is one guy. And that guy is as good. He's as good as you're going to get. But you always figure one hit, one ankle sprain, one something. So you have to be kind of prepared, for that. And by them getting in, whoever they get in to come in, they still have that experience factor that they have to get, and you just don't get that from mop-up duty, playing against 3s and 4s of other teams. On the defensive front, you got to be happy with the front 7. They're a lot deeper than they were last year in all aspects, whether it's interior or the outside. And then obviously linebacker, when you're rotating a guy who's been your leading tackler the last 2 years in Corey Flagg, who's still, even though he's not that quote unquote marquee guy, is still right up there. And, at the end of the game, and I think Coach Guidry said, he's just a guy that fills up the stat box. And, at the end of the day, when you don't think he's done that much. You look at how many tackles and how many assists he has, and then the secondary is a work in progress. I mean, you're looking for guys who are definitely trying to step up, but I think what the front seven has done for them is really helped out in the secondary, because the front seven's strong. They put a lot of pressure on, and as they're going to have to do the rest of the way. So on the overall, I mean, it's this, as Mario Cristobal said, we're nowhere near where we need to be. I mean, even if they run come off and beat Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and Clemson, he's always going to find improvement. And I think that's what made him successful at Oregon. I mean, he, in his last couple of years, I mean, beating Ohio State, I mean, you'd think that being Ohio State and you've arrived, but you know what, if you will rest on your laurels and what you've done, you're not going to progress. And I think that's what this team is all about. And I think, it's a valid, criticism of some of the things that they've done as far as, technically, and they have to work on those things. And that's the big difference. When they make mistakes, they'll sit on Sunday and watch a film, and then by Monday and Tuesday, they correct those things. And that's how you get better. And that's why this team is a lot different than it's been in a long, long time.
Blue, you go to several high school football games per week. You're talking to coaches and players left and right. Based on the way Miami has started. And it's not just about winning all your games so far. It's also about how you've looked, right? Because, the defense has been so much sharper, and it looks like a defensive scheme under Lance Guidry that's fun to play in. A lot of pressure on quarterbacks. And then offensively, it's been night and day, Blue. So do you feel like tides are turning when you talk to offensive players in high school? Are they taking notice more of what Miami's doing? Because I could totally understand why last year they may not have been too excited about the opportunity to play at Miami, but this year it looks completely different.
Yeah, and still you got 10 kids like Ray and Washington and those kids. So if you're getting those type of kids on a quote-unquote off year, then think what you're going to do when you run successfully and get 9 and 10 wins under your belt and get a bowl game win. Kids are and be on national TV and being talked about in a positive way, on national TV rather than, even in that Texas A&M game prior to that. I mean, you still had, the Kirk Herbstreits and people cutting Miami down and saying that Texas A&M would have twice as many fans as Miami for a home game. And see, kids don't want to hear that. That's a negative vibe. And, just because now that they're winning and doing it in a way where it's impressing a lot of people across the country, then it's better because the recruits finally get an opportunity to hear something in a positive way, and not so much as, when you come in, we're going to do this and that. They see that they're doing this and that, and, in positive ways. So it's, the difference is, Alex, is the attitude around the team. And also these coaches, the assistant coaches are out. And when you have a Mario Cristobal spending the entire game of Chaminade and American Heritage and walking the field and, being visible as he was, and Kevin Beard along with him, and then the following day be at Christopher Columbus's alma mater with Coach Maribal, and they're out and visible and people could see them. And it's big. It's big for him to walk down a sideline and for people to yell out his name, rather than to say, oh, geez, there's so-and-so, and they're doing bad. Everybody wants to, everybody. I mean, that, and I kind of walk with him for a couple hours, just talking with him, and you could hear, and that doesn't affect him because you know what, he knows he has a job to do. And while he relishes the fact that the fan base is, really coming out of the woodwork or out of their shell, he knows that the best is yet to come. So that's important. And I think they feel it, and the local coaches, to answer your question, kind of relate that to their players, and that's why they're doing so well locally. And I think you're going to see a lot of surprises, over the next 4 or 5 months that they're going to say, oh, okay, Miami's really in the mix for everybody now.
I like it. We're going to stick with recruiting because I want to talk about top JUCO cornerback Sione Laulea, and I want to talk about 4-star slot receiver Nye Carr, who probably reminds Shannon Dawson of Tank Dell, who he had at Houston, setting all kinds of records there left and right. You want to keep it locked right here to Locked On Canes. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time of your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, and exclusions apply. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen today on this Friday. Remember, at 11 a.m. live, we have Locked On College Football Kickoff Live coming up. I'm going to be part of that right here on this channel. And folks, remember, if you're an everydayer, you want to take that everydayer experience to the next level, sign up for our exclusive SMS texting community through Subtext. I include a link in the show description below. You get one-on-one text directly from my phone to yours, and I give you guys recruiting scoops, breaking news updates, show alerts, all sorts of added value. You can try it free for 14 days, and then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We are joined here by the man, the myth, the legend, Larry Blustein. So, Blue, in a little over a week's time, October 8th, 5 p.m., Sione Laulea, who is the top junior college corner, College of San Mateo in California, he's going to be deciding between the U, USC, and Oregon, and it seems like it's been a pretty tight recruiting race for him. The perceived advantage Miami has is his very good friend and former teammate there at San Mateo, Demetrius Freeney, transferred to Miami, before this season started. So he's already here, hopefully singing the praises of Miami to Sione. Where do you think the Hurricanes stand in his recruitment? And is this guy the real deal?
Oh, he's definitely a real deal. 6'4", 185 pounds, rangy, does a lot of really good things, great ball skills. He's a cornerback who's got safety size. He's got loose hips. He's very fluid. The guy's a proven, playmaker, tremendous football talent that would be a huge asset no matter where he goes. Obviously, right now, a lot of people are saying he may be an Oregon lean, but you never know. Like you said, you get, a couple of people in his ear, him being from the West Coast, sometimes, right. That's really tough. It's just like a South Florida kid, being recruited by USC, but also by Miami and Florida. You say to yourself, well, we got advantage because he's from here. And that's where a lot of those people out West feel at this point. But I think for a number of reasons, one of them being Jamil Adai. I mean, he's a guy who is a proven commodity as a teacher, as a coach, as a recruiter. And I think he has, I would believe, every edge in the world, of getting a kid like that, because of the fact that, you could tell a guy because, here he is, he's older than a lot of the kids that they're bringing in and saying, hey, from day one, you're going to have an opportunity to not just compete for playing time, but to be a cornerstone for us. So, and the kid likes to hear that, obviously.
All right. So another one that has had Miami Hurricane fans on high alert over the past few days is Nye Carr. So 4-star slot receiver out of Colquitt County, Georgia. For a long time, Blue, he was a Georgia verbal commit. He decommitted on Sunday. By Monday, Miami had a coach at his high school, Cody Woodall, the tight ends coach, who's, that's his region of the country. He was already there recruiting Carr, and there's been a lot of smoke that Miami, and I think Nye even said that Miami are probably the leaders right now. Don't know exactly when he's going to make his decision, but have you had a chance to scout this player? What do you think?
Yeah, difference maker kid. It's truly fast, runs great patterns, really gets it. He's the guy when you see him catch the ball in space and then run, you say, oh, okay, because he's that dude, he's the guy that everybody talks about being a difference maker and not just going someplace to blend in. And when you have schools, as you said, like Georgia and Florida State and Miami and Arkansas on him, he's special. And this is a guy that, as you said, I mean, I know that Brian McClendon and Todd Hartley are still very much in the picture at Georgia, as far as, maybe attracting him in the end. But I think that Florida State and Miami have made really, really major strides in the fact that they're playing well. I mean, not that Georgia isn't, but I mean, the fact is there's the pecking order at Georgia is a whole lot different than it is at Miami. And Miami's, just like, to me, I talked the other day about if a Brandon Inniss would have made the decision to come to Miami instead of Ohio State, I think he'd be right in the mix right now.
Yeah.
See, and that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, that the part of the recruiting process, Alex, is to understand, and kind of project what type of player this kid's going to be at the next level. And, and all directions point to this kid's going to be a difference maker because of the fact that what he does with the ball and his skills and his speed and his quickness and being able to outthink defensive back. So, yeah, he joins Miami, and that's just another feather in a cap that's really stacked with some really, really good football players for the future.
I love to hear that. And you guys, you want to make sure you're checking out Larry Bluestein's show. The radio show is incredible. It's one of the most informative shows you're going to find for those who are into college football, high school football, and recruiting. You're not going to find a better spot than the South Florida High School Sports Show, Mondays, 6 p.m. on AM 560 Sports WQAM. And the weekly spot you do, of course, on the Six Ring Cane is also awesome. What nights do you guys usually do that these days?
Monday night, 8:30 to 9:30, 9:45. But the great thing about that is, we kind of like have a lot of guests on, a lot of recruiting people like Flomax and people like that, because they're the heartbeat also of the University of Miami, and they're close with the players and they're close with the fans, and that's good to get a perspective. And then, I think the world of Jazz Santana and DJ and Vish, and, Vish goes everywhere. People don't realize, but he travels to all the games. He was in Philadelphia. Yeah. He goes to all the games. So, it's good to, when I say in recruiting, there's a lot of people, Alex, that, claim to be gurus and all this stuff, but all they do is watch games on film. And there's a big difference about being there and seeing the environment and seeing kids, the way they react rather than just on a highlight film. So, yeah, it's a great catch every Monday night, as I said. And we also have our if you live in Miami, or you can you go on the internet and listen to Joe Rose show every Friday morning. We have a 20-minute deal talking about Dade, Broward County, which is the epicenter, obviously, for high school football talent. So we get things done. And, obviously our website, LarryBlustein.com, encompasses Dade and Broward, and then our Prep Red Zone Florida, which takes you through the entire state. And we have really good writers and people who go to the game. I'm a stickler about being there, doing that. I'm not one of those guys over 53 years that sat home and, made assessments. So, I appreciate, again, you having us on. Your Locked On Cane show is extremely popular. People talk about it, and we catch up on you all the time. And keep up the great work. And also your college show on Fridays, which is very informative. And I get a chance to watch that as well. So
cool.
I'm in the loop. So there I am.
We have a great time, and that's a perfect segue. 11 a.m. live, and if you miss it live, you can catch the replay. Locked On College Football Live coming up right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.